Hello, everybody. Diane Covington here. I am super excited. I'm going to share with you this week and next week all the things. I just love the DISC program because it not only helps you understand you, it helps you understand others. But to me, the best segment is what I'm teaching next week, which is how are you perceived by other people? So let's first of all talk about the picture of I'm screen sharing this. No, not that, Diane. I'm screen sharing the other picture. Where'd it go? Of the self quiz. So now there is an actual full legit DISC profile, but it takes some time to fill it out and all of that. And so rather than have you guys, this is just to kind of give you an overview of what your personality style probably is. So let me screen share and just kind of walk you through this. I'm hoping you've already done this, but if you didn't, you can always print it out and do it later. So can you guys all see the list of the 4 columns? Can everybody send me a thumbs up or something so I know that you all can see that? Hopefully there we go. Thank you, Lenore. I appreciate that. Okay. So what you do when you print this out is you take a straight edge and you look at the 4 words across the top. Okay, that line. You circle the one that is most like you. Quick decision, loves to talk, loyal, perfectionist. Now you might say, well, those all describe me. Well, okay, but which one describes you the most? Like I would consider myself extremely loyal. Sometimes I could be a perfectionist. Quick decisions depends on the topic. Loves to talk, obviously, yes. But I think probably loves to talk or make, I don't know. One of those is probably the highest. The least would probably be, oof, probably perfectionist. So I'm going to circle maybe quick decisions or loves to talk, whatever. And then I'm going to draw a line through perfectionist. Does that make sense? So the next row likes to manage, motivational, slow to change, or serious. And I would say I'm probably the least serious. So I draw a line through that. And motivational, I'd probably circle that. So you're circling the one that is most like you and drawing a line through the one that is least like you. Does that make sense? All right. Once you've done all of these, all the way down, which I'm hoping you all have done, now you're looking for a score, okay? So what I want you to do is above the top of each column now we're not looking at it in rows, we're looking at the columns. How many words in this column did you circle? Let's say you circled 6. You're going to write a 6 up here. Let's say on this one you circled 9. You're going to put a 9 up here. Then let's say on this one you only circled 2. You'll put a 2 up here. And then let's say on this one you circled 4 or whatever, you'll put a 4 up here, right? So you're going to put the number on the top of the ones that you circled. Does that make sense? How many in that column did you circle? Then we're going to go to the ones that you crossed out. So let's say you crossed out 3 on here. You're going to put on here, I usually put a minus just so I don't get the numbers mixed up. -3. This one may be -1. This one might be -6, whatever. So what you're trying to do is figure out which one are you the least like and which one are you the most like. It's very common with the DISC that you have 2 that are very close together. Like a DI is a very natural blend, so it's not uncommon that you have a lot in the first and second column. Those are the most common for, I think, a lot of Mary Kay people. So this is a D. If you want to just put that somewhere in here, maybe right over here. So this is the D personality. This is the I. This is the S. And this is the C. So D, I, S, and C. Now, I never want to tell anybody that before they take the quiz because I don't want it to alter how they answer things. Once you know how to score it, then you're like, oh, well, I'm all this. And so it kind of messes you up a little bit. So I'm curious if anybody has their mic off, if anybody wants to just volunteer really quick, what were your numbers? Did anybody actually take the self quiz before tonight? If so, unmute yourself real quick.
Hi, Diane. It's Lenore. I did take it before. I didn't do the check marks, but
That's okay. So Lenore, which column did you circle the most in?
I, yeah, most in I.
So most in the second column.
And then
And then what was your second closest?
most of the check marks are
No, no,
that.
no, no, no. Which column did you circle the second most in?
Um, both S and C.
Are tied?
So I'm kind of tied there. And then D, it's interesting because I think I used to be a DI, but that's when I was working in the professional world.
Okay.
And so now it's only a 4.
Okay, and which column did you cross the most out on?
One, two, three. It looks like I crossed the most out on C.
Okay. So so does this all make sense? Does anybody type in the chat? And thank you very much for your feedback. But you guys type in the chat if you have any questions on this scoring, because I don't want to move on if you're already confused. Is everybody like thumbs up? Is everybody good? You all got a handle on this? I can go on to the next part. Okay, well, I'm going to assume that means yes. Okay, so now that you have that figured out, let me help you understand one thing. It's one thing to understand you, but isn't it fun to figure somebody else out, right? So I want you to think of somebody you're very close to. It could be a significant other, spouse, could be a sister, sibling, could be your best friend, whatever. Okay, and I'm going to give you a different sheet to look at. And this one really helps you. Sorry, I have to move things around because my assistant put all this stuff. Okay, so here we go. And all of these sheets, I'm happy to put on both boards or wherever so that you guys can access this stuff. Okay. I'm just trying to blow this up so y'all can see it. Okay. So let's say I meet, look, I'm just going to pick on Lori because I know Lori super, super well. And Lori probably doesn't care. So, and Lori, I'm assuming you guys are keeping track of the comments, correct? Hopefully. Oh, Grace, you missed the scoring guidelines. I guess I can go over that again at the end. All right. So let's look at this handout. Okay, so let's say I meet Lori Lagerstrom. We're out walking, which is where she meets a lot of people. That's how she warm chatters. And I'm trying to figure out what Lori's personality is. So I want you to draw a line across from left to right. Notice the top half of the circle are people who are outgoing. The bottom half are people who are typically reserved. Would you say that Lori is outgoing or reserved? I would say Lori is outgoing. Okay, Sandy, if you don't mind, I'm going to turn your camera off just because this doesn't stream very well. If you don't mind, I got you, babe, but thank you. Okay, so I'm going to say Lori's outgoing. So that means that probably her D or her I are her highest. Then I'm going to say, is Lori task oriented? The left side of this, now we're looking at the left side of the paper as if there was a wall down the center. Task oriented are the D's and the C's. Okay. The people oriented are the I's and the S's. Well, I would say Lori, she can do tasks well, but she's definitely more people oriented. So if she's outgoing and she's people oriented, she's probably got I as her highest score. Does that make sense? Does that help you? So let's say you've got somebody on your team who's a little bit more quiet or whatever. Then they might say, well, are they outgoing or reserved? Well, they're reserved. Okay. Are they more people oriented or they're task oriented? They're more people oriented. Okay. So they're probably more of an S personality. So I'm hoping that kind of helps you guys. So, so let's look at this. The D personality. When you say, and here's another thing you can do when you're first meeting somebody. Let's say you're going to a hostess's house and you're setting up for the party. You say, well, tell me about you. If she says to me, well, what do you want to know? She is a C personality because she doesn't want to give you wrong information. If she starts talking about her job, her career, what she does, where she got her degree, and all that stuff, she's probably got some D in her. If she talks about herself and what she likes, oh my gosh, I love my job. I have these amazing nurses I work with, blah, blah, blah. She's probably an I. If she immediately talks about her family, what she does for the family and church involvement and all that, she's probably an S. So that helps you a little bit. So let's look at this. The D is going to talk about their job. So I'm going to make this just a tiny bit bigger so everybody can see this because I can always make it smaller later. These people are results oriented, career focused. They make quick decisions, direct, independent, self-confidence. So you want to focus when you're talking to them about the career opportunity. You want to talk to them about leadership and income. You want to talk to them about being independent, moving quickly up the career path. That's very key for a D. They're like, how fast can I have your job? They want to be a director like yesterday. Okay. Also, being your own boss. Okay. Now, when you meet with a D personality, it's typically going to be a short appointment. Be brief but thorough. They want all the info, but they want like the condensed version. Don't dwell on fluff. Explain the marketing plan, basically how they make money, right? Provide direct answers, outline steps to leadership, and let her do most of the talking. She will probably decide right then and there whether or not she wants to join your team. That's like a one and done. Okay. Now let's talk about the I. Like if you were interviewing Lori, Lori might talk a little bit about herself and what she loves. She's very people oriented, expressive, recognition focused, sometimes impulsive, not detail oriented. So what you're going to focus on is working with people, impacting lives, all of that. Prizes, recognition, seminar. Oh my gosh, the thought of going to a 3-day seminar where you get princesses on stage and the whole 9 yards. Impact she can have on others and the ability to be creative. These people also can decide quickly that they want to do Mary Kay, if they want to be a part of Mary Kay. In a team building appointment, it's going to be a slightly longer appointment because she's going to want to know a lot of stuff about things like, how do I win that prize? And I see you have a diamond B on your jacket. How did you get that? And so on. Allow time for relationship building. She wants to know that you're not just signing her up. She wants to know that she matters. Okay. Let her do the talking. But I will say, with an I interview, it can sometimes feel like, is this ever going to end? I mean, not that you'd ever say that, obviously. Simple explanations. They don't need a ton of detail. She's not gonna remember the details anyway. Don't bore her with details. Provide I stories of successful people. You can say, "Oh my gosh, well you're a tomboy. Oh, you should meet my national. When she joined, she was covered in mud, never wore makeup, but now look at her. She's made over $6 million in Mary Kay." Showing them pictures, it could be just right off your phone. Does that make sense? So these are both outgoing personalities. Okay. So that's what they call a natural blend. Anything that touches the other box. So a DI is a natural blend. A DC is a natural blend. A CS is a natural blend. Where it's not a natural blend, which I will explain in a minute, is when you get an IC or a DS. They're out there. There's totally a lot of people there. And it might be somebody that's on here tonight, but just letting you know. All right. Now let's go down here to the S. Talk about her family and the work she does. That's what she's going to talk about. Family oriented, very security focused, loyal, easygoing, abides by the rules. That's the other thing. They want to know, like, what do I need to do to finish my checkoff list? Well, you need to do this. Okay, then who do I turn it into? You can turn it into Diane. Do I get a prize? Yes, you get a prize. Like, they want to know all of that. Friendship is important. So letting them know that there's a sisterhood, that we are all here to support each other. These are steadiness people are slow to change. So what you're going to focus on is keeping her priorities in order. If you say to an S personality, "Oh my gosh, come into Mary Kay, it'll change your life," she will run the other way. She doesn't want to change her life. She wants to impact her life, but she doesn't want to change her life. She loves her family, all of that. Time spent with family and how this will help her provide for them. And you could say, what would you do with an extra $500 a month? I heard you mention private school. Is that important for you to put your kids in private school? Yes. How much money would you need to make for Mary Kay to make that happen? And she'll tell you, and that's a great incentive. In fact, I can't tell you how many Mary Kay people I talk to, and that's one of their first goals is to put their kids in private school and have Mary Kay pay for it, or pay for a housekeeper, pay for trips or whatever. Friends she will make, free education she will receive. They love the fact that they can jump on a Wednesday night virtual event. They love jumping on Thursday, even if they don't have a guest. They just want to hear the stories, right? All right, so a team building appointment gives simple explanations. Share the facts about how much it's going to cost, how much time it's going to take, and how to get started. That's all she wants to know is, and especially for an S, I would, if you were going to add notes to this page, I would write down, give her like the next two things to do because she can get overwhelmed easy and just wants to know, okay, so what are the first two things I need to do? Submit your agreement for the $35 start, and then we'll talk about whether you want the $90 bag. If you want to make money, you probably want the $90 bag. Explain how she'll be able to fit it into her busy schedule. That's where you might pull out your weekly plan sheet. And if you don't use a weekly plan sheet, I highly suggest you start. Or I just take my date book with me because that is my weekly plan sheet. And I have everything color coded by just like when I can hold appointments. Does that make sense? And then, of course, let them know the S personality. You definitely also want to let them know that there is something called MK Confident. The I personality will log in and they'll never get past like module 1, but that's fine. All right. So that kind of helps that explain. Does that make sense? It'll probably take more than one appointment to close an S personality. The D and the I will close on the spot if they're going to do this, typically. Now let's look at the conscientious. And we all have some of these in us. We all have a little bit of DISC in us, just a lot more of some than others. So what does the C do? When I say, so tell me about you, they're going to say, well, what do you want to know? Guarantee that's a C personality. And so detail oriented, perfectionist, analytical, exacting, precise, organized, likes the facts. So you're going to focus on able to work her own hours. That means a lot to them. Personal growth, leadership opportunity, will appreciate educational material. So with a team building appointment, you want to be concise. For her, the fact that we've been around 63 years, that we manufacture our own product, all of that, right? Use facts in print, don't just make stuff up. And that's where you guys can take like the back of the company placemat, show her that, print things out from corporate. I would have a little bit of all of this stuff so that you're equipped when you go. Because if you don't know what style she is, then you can change your presentation as need be. Explain exactly what it takes to move at the career path. This is also going to be more than one appointment. Does that make sense? So you can see how outgoing is up here, reserved is over here, people oriented and task oriented. Like our national is very, very much in this quadrant. She's outgoing, not reserved. Task or people, she's people, but oh, she is. Notice how task is all uppercase. That would be Janice. And so she's very, very high in this and has a little bit of this and not very much of those. But she hires people who do that. Okay. So, but you guys, if you have questions, please type them in the chat because I'm sure Lori can kind of help with that, right? All right. Now let me talk to you guys a little bit about, make sure this is the right handout. Yeah. And it's so funny because our topic tonight at boot camp is also on team building. So you're going to find this sheet really helpful. And I think these are all out of print now from Mary Kay. And these are like older than dirt, but I will post all of these. Okay. So here's what you're going to talk about. So let's just look at this one. I'll move it down a little bit. So here you've got the DIS and C, right? How will she most likely respond to the statement? Tell me a little bit about yourself. See it right up here. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Talks about her job. We already did all this. All right. So the characteristics, again, this is a great one to print out. This is a little easier to follow when you're doing it. Okay. What might focus on during the team building appointment? Okay. Notice on here, able to work their own hours, personal growth, leadership. And it might surprise you that the C has leadership in here. Oh, they're task oriented, they're on it, and they want to move up. They just need to know exactly the steps to take and all of that. Does that make sense? Then you've got the team building, actual team building appointment. Short appointment, long appointment. This one needs simple, but this is probably more than one. You meet with her more than once, and this one you probably meet with her more than once. So when you meet someone for coffee and they say to you, "Oh, I need to think about it," don't think that they're not interested. They might be an S or a C personality, and they just need to mull over things or read things or whatever. All right. One of the questions, how can I get help with a potential team member when my director is out of state? Well, if you've got a potential team member, you just ask her. I asked them to watch the 4-minute video from the company. It's very generic, but it talks about the credibility of Mary Kay Cosmetics. So it kind of touches on all the DISC people, like all the styles. I ever watch that, and then I say to every team member or potential team member, jot down the best 3 questions you can think of that you'd want to know. And then we'll do a sharing appointment. And at that sharing appointment, that's literally all I do is answer their 3 questions. And it's amazing. If you did that to 10 people, they're all going to ask you something different. Okay. So I think the reason why this is super important is let's say you've got a hostess. She's super excited. So if she's super excited, she's probably outgoing. So she's a D or an I. She goes, I can't wait to have all my friends over. We're going to have so much fun. I bought champagne and we're going to do this. And she's so excited to have a party. She's an I. Guarantee you she's an I. So you can say, oh my gosh, your friends are going to have such a blast. She's the kind of person when you book her, once you get it's called cross confirmation when you send the invite out to her friends and they respond back, oh, we can't wait, we're so excited. I'm going to text my hostess with a voice text and say, oh my gosh, Lori, I'm so excited, your girlfriends sound like they are just off the chart excited to come over on Friday and get pampered. And so that means the world to the hostess because then the hostess's number one fear is no one's coming to my party. Right? And so, especially if she's an I personality, friendships, girlfriends, connecting with other women, all of those are at the top of her priority list. So, as soon as I talk to Sandy, who's invited to the party, and she goes, yep, you can count on me. I'll be there Friday night. I can't wait to see you. I said, thanks, Sandy. And I hang up. My first next call or text is to Lori. Lori, I just talked to your girlfriend, Sandy. She seems super excited. We're going to have so much fun on Friday. Now, Lori is just like crazy off the chart. Does that make sense? So it's just important to know how to present. So when you go into a Starbucks, as an example, and you're meeting with somebody to share about the career opportunity, you have to think about what props would you want to take Okay. So one of the things you could do is take your unit newsletter. Okay. Print it out, take your unit newsletter because it shows them recognition. It shows them hopefully the calendar of the month of all the events. Okay. So the recognition's for the I person. The D is going to like all the pages where it tells how much people made. How much do they sell? What's the profit? Like they'll look at the scoreboard, they'll look at Star Consultant, all of that, right? The eyes are going to look for prizes, recognition, any pictures on the cover, any pictures of anybody. Like we do a dynamite profile, they would be very into that, right? And then, so you definitely want to take a lookbook as well, because a lookbook shows them how versed the company is. There's education on new products that are launched. Like when they first launched Barrier Restore, they did like a 2-page spread just on that product. So we can learn and our customers can learn. Does that make sense? So, um, I'm getting comments in here. It's just that scares the heck out of me because I'm such an eye. I'll never shut up and scare them away. So I appreciate that, Lenore, and I will say to you, when you are there, the best thing to do is write yourself a note that says ask questions. And then the second note to yourself is going to say, write it down. So you're going to say to her, so tell me about you. And if she goes, oh, I've got grandkids, instead of you going, oh my God, I have grandkids too. It's like, okay, just just let her go. Just let her talk. And then say, well, since you watched the 4-minute video, tell me what really stands out to you. And she might say, oh, all the different ethnicities. I just thought it was so cool that there's so many different ages and races, and there's just Mary Kay is so well represented, blah, blah, blah. Right. So those are the kinds of things that you want to be paying attention to. Okay. So the fun thing about the DISC thing is once you know what you are, then you can kind of adjust how you are perceived. So next week, what we're going to talk about, and if you didn't get a chance to take the self quiz, please do that, right? And what's going to happen is if you are, let's say, a DI or an ID, which is very common, then how are you perceived? So if you've got a real high I, let's just say you're really, really high I and lower on the others, then how does a D perceive you? How does an S perceive you? And how does a C perceive you? And I think that is very, very valuable because what it does is it lets you know that's not my intention. Like somebody with a super high D can come off as cold and non-caring. Well, the super high Ds that I have in my life, because I know several of them, they're not cold and non-caring at all. They just come across so task oriented that um, they they can come across that way, right? If we are a real high I personality, whoever you are, then it might be we want to make friends, we want to have an impact, and there's so much negativity in our world that we just want to sprinkle a little extra pixie dust on everybody to make everybody happy, right? So just keep in mind, you just don't want anybody at a sharing appointment to feel like it's about you. It really needs to be all about them, right? And so that's where you can go in and say things like, tell me about you. And then I say, well, tell me about your last job. This is interesting. This is a great question to ask. So tell me about your last career choice. What did you love about it? And they'll tell you. And then say, what did you like the least? And if they said, no flexibility, I worked tons of hours, I never saw my family, then to her, balance is really important. So you might say, that's interesting. So what would you love to change in your life? What would you love more of? Is it money? Is it travel time? What would you love to have more of in your life? So those are the questions I ask at a sharing appointment. And I just come right out and ask them. If they go, well, I don't know, no one's asked me. And I said, well, what do you think it would be? And like, don't give them answers, right? That's the whole point is we want them to think. So I hope this has helped you guys. It is a DISC, both of those handouts I will post on boards as well as our Facebook page. I think they're great, and I would literally take it with, I would take not so much the one with the round circle in it, but I would take the other grid sheet kind of chart because if you figure out what she is, right, partway through the sharing appointment, and you go, you know what, I think she's got a lot of D in her, then all of a sudden you're like, wait, what am I supposed to talk about? And it'll say team building appointment. Be brief, don't dwell on fluff, right? And I would say the hardest one you want to be conscientious of is not rambling, especially if you've been with the company a long time, like Lori and I and Melanie have been. We don't want to ramble for, 20 minutes and you know what I mean? Like they just can't absorb that much information. And then it just is like goes right over their head and you lose it all. All right. I hope you guys have found this helpful. We will do the additional the last segment next week, which I love. And I want to thank you guys for being on here. See you next week.